Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming back for day 2, as Rod mentioned. I really want to thank the entire Best Practices team for allowing me to be here today. We have enjoyed collaborating with Best Practices the past few months as we prepare for the expo here in Nashville. I've been so impressed with the interesting topics and presenters featured as part of the agenda. And just in the past hour that I've been here, I've been able to interact and speak informally with many of you. And you're an incredible group. You have such rich knowledge and expertise, and I know that it's been beneficial to you as you've been here over these past 2 days to network with one another. And so I am so happy to be here and very humbled to be able to speak in front of you. So as Rod mentioned, I work with Tennessee State Government and specifically our Department of Environment and Conservation. Today, I wanted to provide you with an overview of many of our programs and services that focus on building sustainability and resilience throughout Tennessee, obviously with a specific focus on businesses in the private sector. So we'll get started. And before we dive into that, I wanted to provide a high-level overview of our mission and the purpose and responsibilities of our department. So you'll see our mission on this slide here, and I won't read through it, but at its core, it focuses on enhancing the quality of life and quality of natural resources throughout the state through our regulatory system. So think of us as sort of a state-level equivalent of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Ensuring health and safety and preserving natural, cultural, and historic resources and providing recreational experiences. So our mission directs and encourages the work we do. Throughout all the work we do, we keep in mind statewide goals of improving services we provide to our customers and increasing efficiency of our operations. So obviously things that are very similar to what you all aim to do in your business operations on a day-to-day basis. So we have 2 primary outward-facing bureaus, the Bureau of Parks and Conservation and the Bureau of Environment. And the first that I'll talk about is our Bureau of Environment. So we are the primary environmental and natural resource regulatory agency in the state. We have delegated responsibility from the Environmental Protection Agency to regulate the different sources of pollution mentioned on this slide. So air pollution, solid and hazardous waste, rad health issues, underground storage tanks, public drinking water, water supply, surface water and groundwater, and contaminated properties. So many of you have interacted with your state environmental regulatory agency as you go about your work in your facilities. We also have 8 environmental field offices located throughout the state. They perform a great deal of the work with many of our stakeholders. Each one also has a regional director of external affairs that serves as a primary interface with the community and our stakeholders. We administer a number of grants and loans, focusing on things such as drinking water and wastewater, solid waste and recycling, energy efficiency projects, brownfields, alternative fuels, and so on and so forth. We also offer quite a bit of non-regulatory assistance. So Rod already introduced the fantastic folks from my team. That's the world that we primarily work in, environmental sustainability, energy efficiency, water conservation, and solid waste management. And we'll discuss those in greater detail in a moment. I also briefly wanted to touch on the work we do in our other externally facing bureau, that's the Bureau of Parks and Conservation. So we do operate the state's state park system. We have 56 of those state parks. We also operate 85 state natural areas, many of those in partnership with local communities. So providing great recreational opportunities through those installations throughout our communities. Those are major economic drivers and major economic engines for those communities. We also have a natural areas program and various grants and technical assistance that we provide through our local parks and recreation programs. So I also briefly wanted to touch, so being in state government, we obviously work very closely with the current administration and leadership team, the governor's office. And then we also have our own priorities that we frequently tie our work to. And so I wanted to briefly explain those to you. So Governor Lee has now been in office nearly a year. He entered office in January. And he has outlined his initial priorities focusing on education and workforce development, healthier Tennessee, jobs and rural economic development, and public safety and criminal justice reform. So we're working very hard to tie the work we do in our agency to these priorities. Primarily, we're tying most closely to education and workforce development, healthier Tennessee, jobs and rural economic development, but really trying to weave in all of these priorities. We also have a new commissioner, Commissioner David Salyers, at the Department of Environment and Conservation. And so the leadership team and the entire agency has been working very hard to identify what our current priorities under this administration will be. And so you'll see that we're focusing on enhancing services to rural Tennesseans with a particular focus on water and wastewater infrastructure, also providing more strategic and financial technical assistance to those communities. We're really focusing on building strong relationships with both external partners as well as other agencies throughout the state, both at the local and state level. So you all represent external stakeholders, and so building those partnerships and relationships with you all is very important to us. We're also focusing on workforce development and providing resources that tie back to our mission and protection of human health and the environment. Deploying innovative technology, so making information and resources more available to you, and then also enhancing how we use technology to make decisions and provide services to you all. We're working to increase the efficiency and consistency of our regulatory processes, and also making continued improvements to air, land, and water resources. So we've also developed several core sustainability beliefs that we think are really, really important as we engage with our external stakeholders. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. You guys already get this. That's why you're here today. But the first is that economic growth and environmental protection are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they kind of go hand in hand. So you can't have one without the other. If you're not, protecting high quality drinking water resources, you're not going to be able to recruit a very high level industrial partner to your local community. And so we really see those as going hand in hand. The second is that pollution prevention practices, particularly energy efficiency and elimination of waste, save money. Again, you all know this. This is a very critical part of your operations, and in many cases, it may be the driving factor for why your leadership team may be pursuing sustainability. We're also committed to working with our external customers in a way that meets them and meets their needs. So we don't want to take a top-down approach. We also want to be creative and collaborative in terms of how we develop solutions. So within my office, the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices, we have 3 different teams. One focused on providing services to businesses in the private sector, the second focused on providing services to communities, and the third providing services to government and institutional environment. We have quite a few programs. I'm not going to touch on all of them today, but you'll see them listed here on this slide. And we'll primarily focus on those sustainability-related programs. And then I'll also touch on some sustainability work that's going on within our agency outside of my particular office. So the first program or service that I wanted to share with you is our environmental policy work. And so this work aims to accomplish TDEC's mission by examining through research and analysis legacy, current, and emerging environmental issues that cut across environmental media. And so the reason we do this is we want to make sure we're thoroughly investigating a potential issue or challenge or problem, and then developing what we think are intelligent and smart solutions to those problems. And you can't do that without robust research and analysis, options, alternatives, seeking stakeholder input, and then making a decision as to how we want to move forward. And again, I share this with you because I want you to know that in Tennessee, we are very, very focused on allowing us to approach issues of concern in an unbiased, thoughtful, and informed manner, and by also providing a mechanism for stakeholder input. So throughout our examination of all of these different issues, we include public participation as part of that process and make sure that we're getting input from our external stakeholders, including businesses like those that you represent on the front end, so that we make sure that we're thoroughly understanding the impacts that may result from how we move forward. And so on this slide, you'll see several different examples of some of the environmental policy topics or projects that we've tackled over the past few years. I'm actually not going to spend much time on this slide, but I also briefly wanted to touch on the concept of sustainability and again emphasize that we really do take a triple bottom line approach to sustainability within the department. So we're focusing on the social, environmental, and economic aspects of sustainability. Sometimes people will refer to it as people, planet, and prosperity, but this really informs the work that we do in my office, but also across the department. And so we're very much considering the impacts to all of those areas in the different decisions that we make. All right, so now the stuff that is very relevant to you all. I'll spend quite a bit of time reviewing and discussing the programs and services offered by our business and private sector. And so let's discuss those in greater detail. So the first program I wanted to share with you is a relatively new program. It's been around for about 2 years now, and it's called Get Food Smart Tennessee. So we are, through this program, really seeking to promote wise use of food and enhancing the sustainability of Tennessee's food resources. It's one of the first of its kind programs for a state government agency, and really focuses on reducing food waste through two main components. So it's a statewide awareness and education campaign that really draws attention to how much food we produce in the U.S. and then how much of it is wasted. And then the second part provides technical assistance and peer networking as to how we can reduce food waste across the state. It also features a statewide recognition program. And so through that program, we recognize leaders in prevention, recovery, and diversion of food waste. So we have over 160 locations across the state who have received recognition, including many of the major grocery retailers across the state. I also wanted to touch on our pollution prevention initiatives. Again, if you want to learn more than what I discussed during today's presentation, please go visit the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices team. They are a great source of knowledge on all of these programs. So through our current pollution prevention activities and grants, we're really focused on toxic release inventory information and developing resources that can inform industries of efforts to reduce environmental impacts associated with their operations. And there are two primary programs that we operate out of our pollution prevention arm, and that's the Tennessee Green Star Partnership. Many of you may have heard of that, as well as the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits Program. And we'll talk more about those in a minute. But some of the assistance available to you all through those programs are webinars, workshops, and roundtables. We also, through our pollution prevention work, really work hard to make sure we're gathering information and best practices from leaders across the country in this space. So there's a robust network of pollution prevention activities and states involved in pollution prevention work that we speak with frequently through EPA. There's a national organization that we're constantly learning from and learning from our peer state agencies, as well as Region 4 folks in the Southeast. So the Tennessee Green Star Partnership is our premier voluntary environmental leadership program for manufacturers in Tennessee. And it is facilitated by TDEC, and our goal there is to recognize Tennessee manufacturers that are committed to sustainability and exhibit continuous improvement throughout their entire operation. I know those things are very important to you all, otherwise you wouldn't be here today. So topics that are covered within these workshops and roundtables span from a multimedia perspective, sustainability, as well as process improvement and organizational performance excellence, community outreach, and engagement. We also recently held workshops across the state as part of this program, and we held those for the first time on-site at our partner facilities and included a tour. So it became a great opportunity for folks to learn from their peers, actually observe their facilities and some of the sustainability measures that they've put in place. On this slide, you'll see a number of the different partners that we have in that program. So Unilever, Bridgestone, Nissan, GM, Denso, American Snuff, Owens Corning, Delta, Stanley Black & Decker. We've got over 45 other additional partners that aren't mentioned on this slide, but I wanted to give you a quick taste of the variety of different sectors that are represented in our program. So in total, we do have 54 members. As I mentioned, we host annual workshops, webinars, member highlight articles, which become a great opportunity for us to really detail a specific member and their very innovative approaches to sustainability and performance excellence within their facilities, as well as member roundtables. You'll also see the metrics, so some of the wonderful impacts in terms of solid waste reductions, energy usage reductions, and dollars saved on this slide as well. And so we're very proud of the work that those partners do to make Tennessee a more sustainable state. We're also we're also always looking for ideas as to how we can improve this program. So if any of you all do have ideas, please stop by our booth, let us know. We want to make sure we're growing membership and continually improving ourselves. As part of this program, we're also in the early stages of planning for a peer sustainability mentoring program whereby we are trying to pair a major manufacturing entity with a smaller business. Oftentimes that may be somebody who's upstream or downstream of them or just geographically located in the same region. But our hope there is that we're able to pair some industries that may not often interact with each other than that supply chain management, but also may not think about sharing sustainability best practices together so that everyone can reduce their environmental impacts. So if you're interested in participating in that program, please also go see the folks at the booth. We're also developing resources specifically for the agribusiness community related to this work. And so again, if you have any ideas as to how we can tailor some specific resources, please let us know. We welcome that input. Another program I wanted to touch on, and if you're in Tennessee, you may have heard of this program, is the Tennessee Materials Marketplace. You also may have a similar program within your state. And the goal of the Materials Marketplace is to essentially serve as an online dating system for materials and different waste streams. So it's an online interactive platform that provides a marketplace for trading, donation, and sale of discarded materials by one entity to another. This is something that we have supported through grants in our department, and it's a couple of years into its lifespan, but we've already seen great interest amongst folks throughout the state. And so as I mentioned, this is a free online platform. There are some additional costs associated with it, but the intent is to really incentivize sustainability and monetize waste streams to create one person's waste stream into something that somebody else can use. So this provides value to the products that are traded through that marketplace. It reduces carbon emissions, stimulates and inspires local jobs in many cases, and is good for the environment. So we really see a lot of value through promotion of this program. And on this slide, you'll see several examples of different materials that are available on the marketplace, and it really runs the gamut. I also wanted to share with you our Tennessee Sustainable Spirits program. Many of you may have interacted with Matt Taylor and Mark Valencia over the past day or two. They're our primary contacts for this program. But it is a voluntary recognition and best practices program that seeks to assist wineries, wine growers, breweries, and distilleries in increasing sustainability and promoting best practices. Again, provision of technical assistance, peer networking, and mentoring, developing relationships are all core services associated with this program. Similar to our Tennessee Green Star Partnerships program, membership is obtained by fulfilling a range of sustainability requirements that focus on water conservation, air and water pollution, waste reduction, and community involvement. We recently recognized our first 4 members of this program, and you'll see them listed on this slide here, and have really received a lot of interest in this program. Partnering in the near future with EPA and the Energy Star Partnership Program to determine how we can develop more meaningful technical assistance to those interested entities. We also offer a number of certifications for tax credit to various businesses in Tennessee. So those can be obtained through installation of pollution control equipment as well as green energy production facilities. And you'll see some information on this slide associated with those certifications. If you're not aware of that being available to you and you are a business that operates in Tennessee, please come see me after the program and I can share some information with you. We also recognize sustainability actions of all types through our Governor's Environmental Stewardship Awards program. We recently celebrated our most recent class of award winners this past summer. And this becomes a great opportunity for us to recognize individuals, businesses, organizations, educational institutions, and agencies for the sustainability work we do in hopes that others will take note of the work that they're doing and implement similar practices. So those are the main business and private sector programs I wanted to share with you today. I also wanted to briefly note that we do have, as I mentioned before, quite a bit of programming that focuses on communities, and you'll see those core programs listed on this slide. While most of you do represent the private sector, as you know, community partnerships are incredibly important to getting the work done that you need to get done. And so we see working across our different teams as very important to accomplishing our mission. And also briefly wanted to share with you our state government and institutions programs. So we are focusing on higher education in particular, as well as leading by example through state government operations. Again, partnerships with local and state government is incredibly important to the work that we do with businesses in the private sector as well. And then outside of my office, we also have an Office of Energy Programs. They focus on a number of different energy-related priorities, including energy assurance, so promoting state and local energy emergency preparedness, K-12 energy education, so making sure that, and working to make sure that our educators have access to energy-related curriculum and resources in the classroom. Also promoting sustainable transportation and alternative fuels. And they are also administering the Volkswagen settlement here in Tennessee. And so if you're interested in any of the funds that may be available through that, please also see the folks at the TDEC booth, and they can connect you with individuals who are administering those programs. I mentioned lead by example. We're also doing quite a bit within state government to really make sure that we're operating our own facilities efficiently. We have a recently implemented utility data management system and are very much in the baselining and data gathering phase to learn how utilities are being used within our facilities. And then moving forward, we'll use that information to make some strategic decisions about how we can make slight operational changes or invest in capital improvements moving forward. So with that, I will wrap up. I don't know if we want to do questions now or later. No questions. Come see me afterwards. I'll be sticking around for a little bit. Thank you so much.